Down. Turn it down.
Just a quick note. I don't know if anybody realized with the media. Thank you. I don't know if anybody realized in the media while you were talking about Palestine, those cameras did not come on at all. Once you started with Libya, they put the cameras. They're no longer here. But I'm just showing you how much I pay attention to those details. As soon as you said Libya, they turned the cameras on. It's a big conspiracy, obviously, and you're very aware of it. But my question is to Libya, how do we differentiate? You know there's an Arab Spring going on, and I don't like that word because Arab Spring is a pastime. But it's an Arab revolution that's going on, not just a spring. But there seems to be a little conflict of interest here. We wanted to protest on Libya, and some of the people, the Libyan community told us to back off. They support NATO. There are Libyans who support NATO, okay? And there's also a rumor circulating that you are pro-Gaddafi. Now, this is from the Libyan community. They wanted me to ask you in lieu of that. So how do you respond to that? And how do we, as a whole, I'm not against you, obviously, but how do we, there's a belief that Gaddafi is killing his people. You know, it's not just a rumor, it's not, there's actually engaging, and he said it in the Libyan dialect, Zanga Zanga, which is basically going to every crack and going after his people that oppose him. So how do we counter that? You know, number one, they say you're pro-Gaddafi. That's what they're saying. How do we put that out in a positive light? You know, and as a Palestinian, of course, I mean, I adore what you do for Palestine. And I just follow you all this time. I'm on your Facebook page.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes.
Hamas is a descendant of the survivors of the DSCF massacre in 1948, which is the Nakba in the Palestinian street, just as a football. He's one of the few survivors. That wasn't what I wanted to say. We have a thing with local communities. I would like to say George and the Greater Cleveland Arab American Association is hosting me tonight. But that's my problem, that we have at least three strong communities that are separated here in Cleveland. The west side is the Palestinian Arab community. We have an African American community that has Arab stores in it, but they're not all popular. The Arabs see in those stores, their storekeepers getting murdered, so there's a tremendous amount of antagonism, and you have a very, very strong Jewish community here, most of which is pretty much Israel lobby. So we have the makings of everything, but I don't see the Arab Americans and the African Americans coming together. Yeah. And I wonder if you could give a pep talk that's in your heart to tell people what they should do after you leave town. By the way, my last question is if you had swimming lessons. Thank you.
Let me say quickly, hold it. Let me get this. After that question is done, then my brother here from the Congo, and then you. Somebody like, oh, I forgot it. Yes. You come behind Don, all right? The sister right there. Okay. And then you, my brother, and then you. Okay.
My question is concerning you running for president again, because I was one of the few people that voted for you in this. Thank you. And my reasoning for voting for you was you had the strongest education plan. When I looked at the candidates and I listened to what you said, your education plan was strong, so I can see why you were inspired to send crayons and make sure that you got those crayons to them. And I also would like to know, what party are you with now? Yeah. Besides the panel. Okay. I'm going to answer them all. Thank you. Is it my turn?
No, close out with these few that are standing up.
Well then, yeah, stand up if that's gonna be the last round.
Congresswoman, we're certainly happy to have you here. I know it's been some changes and trouble, and good parents, pardon your brothers and everything, came to bring you here. That's a wonderful thing. What I want to know, is there anything that can be done, or is there any group that's addressing this health situation? You go to the hospital, and you never come back. You know, it's just like in the wintertime, when they go for a frostbite. Several, I know at least half of them, they go for a frostbite, and they come back in a box, in a pine box. Is there any group that's trying to address that situation, whether it be white, black, or whatever it is? The poor just don't have no health care. You just dead. If you go there, they say, do you have insurance? I won't say what hospital. Do you have insurance? If you don't have insurance, in fact, they put you in the hallway, 4 or 5 of you lay in the hallway, and you just stay there. Oh, yeah, we didn't take you in there. Is there any group that's addressing that, or how do you feel about that? Do you feel strongly about that?
Yes.
The poor and the working, you know, you just can't get no health care. Thank you.
Next. Yes.
Thank you, Congresswoman. Thank you for coming up here and unhyping me on a lot of the myths that I have gone into in my mind. I really appreciate that. My question for you is, here in Ohio, we're dealing with House Bill 194, which restricts minor party access to the ballot at all. And it also does a bunch of horrible things that are going to basically bring us back to Jim Crow South. But with a spacing legislation like that, where our government is trying to take away our right to go to the polls and vote, what advice do you have for Ohioans today to spread awareness of issues like this and to make sure that our voice is heard and that we have the ability to elect a candidate that represents our views?
Okay. And two more.
Oh, thank you very much. My name is Patrick Muleva. I lead the Black Student Union, the African Student Association, and the NAACP here at Cleveland State University. That is unity. Earlier, you did mention the UNSC 1973. I think it is important to clarify the position of the African countries present at the table, because these countries were representing the position of the African Union, which was to avoid bloodshed at all costs, which was to avoid the presence of NATO in Africa at all costs. Yet, this position has been confused with, I think, the Libyan brothers has been confused with having Gaddafi removed from power, because these are two different situations. Having NATO in Libya,
Yes.
and having Gaddafi out. These two countries, I think it would be helpful to clarify the United Nations Security Council Resolution 1973. Thank you.
Well, I want to give a shout out to the fact that you've been consistently against the wars. I heard you in Atlanta right after 9/11. It was very inspiring. That stack of book. You mentioned NATO, but you don't mention Obama. You consider him a war criminal because he's actually following along the same lines as all the imperialist presidents. But that's just a simple question because I think it's an important one.
And my elder brother here, Greg.
Greetings, Honorable Robert Beck, United Democrats Worldwide. Robert Beck, greetings from the United Democrats Worldwide, representative of that organization. We have a large constituency in Georgia, and I would love to see you return to Georgia because we have grounds for the support there. I'm sure you already familiar with. My question is, what is your perspective on Gaddafi's role and Islamization on the mind people on the continent and its influence on the African diaspora abroad. And the reason why I'm asking this question is because many of the young people in the African conscious movement are divided on our perspective. And you have brought me to the crossroads of my mind where I may be prepared to change my mind on this particular issue as regards to the localized, just new things that I didn't know previously. That's why I came. And I'm interested in it from that perspective. We're divided because many of us are interested in a purely African perspective in terms of how they want to shape our minds and our actions. We don't see Gaddafi as a person who has that interest in mind because of the Berber and Islamic influences on his acculturation and his mentality. So I'd like to know what you think about that. As it relates to him. That's a very important question for us.
Last one, we're gonna do this for the whole.
We need information, first of all, you're still my conference holder. My name is Kwame, and we need to be able to get to the truth. We hear all type of reasons for being in Africa. Resources comes up. Resources is technology, whatever it is. It's the resources. I have never come across one country that has refused to sell any of its resources to this country. There has never been a blockage. So we need to stop looking and stopping at what they say and go behind the scenes. It's not over resources if there's no one stopping. Any person who becomes president of any country will sell everything they have to the first person. Not necessarily the highest, just the first. So what is the reason? Fast track. We need someone that investigates to move out the red area. Gaddafi did several things. Of all the things he did, most of them was in favor of the Western world. It was only recently, suddenly, and he was due to be awarded an humanitarian award for all the good things he was done what he did for the people. Suddenly that changed overnight. He announced to France and to Italy they had to pay gold to his oil. And America had to come and take him down because we're the reserve currency of the world. And if you can start paying in gold, America is bankrupt. I have to add something else to one of the gentlemen over there about the Arabs and the Afro-Americans. In true honesty, there is no basis for me to come together with you unless to sit down so we can work out for me taking control over buying food in the stores that your people have in our community.
Question, because, it's gonna get us another.
I had to address that because the question is, when you leave, it would be good if the brothers there had a coalition of people here and organizations to start anew.
Ask a question,
And
brother.
how we get
Excuse me.